He felt the first sting of panic, and looked around, in the hope that there might be someone whom he could call out to, someone who might be able to persuade him that he had not discovered what he feared. He saw no one. They were quite alone. He reached into his pocket with trembling fingers, pulled out his phone and dialed. 999, what service do you require? Police, Lewandowski said. I think I found human remains. Part 1. Monday. 1. Detective Chief Inspector Mackenzie Jones led the way across the uneven track, stepping over the ruts that had been left by the tanks that regularly exercised on this part of the plain. Professor Alan Fife, the Home Office pathologist, kept pace alongside her. The rain had turned the track into something of a quagmire, with ankle-deep puddles and long stretches of mud that threatened to suck the boots straight off her feet. At least she had her boots, she thought, as she stepped around a particularly treacherous patch of mud. She always kept a pair in the boot of the car, just in case. Fife had not had the same foresight and was complaining loudly at the state of his brogues and the bottoms of his trousers. He was carrying a square case with a strap that he wore across his shoulder. The case bumped against his hip with every step. "Where is it?" he asked. Mac pointed to the hawthorn hedge. "There's a depression on the other side of that bush." "I'm not really dressed for this kind of terrain." Fife was an irascible man who had not been pleased to have been called out on short notice. Mac had worked with him before and found him to be something of a handful. He was intelligent, although perhaps not quite as clever as he liked people to think, with a short temper and a sharp tongue that he directed against those who he felt were not following his directions with the necessary speed. Fife wasn't the only person to have had their diary upended. Mac had been due in court for the conclusion of the case against Allegra Mallender and Tristan Lennox. The proceedings had, as far as she could tell, been going well, and had gone some way to make up for the farrago that had preceded it. It had been Atticus Priest who had unravelled the evidence she had assembled against Ralph Mallender. He had also provided the evidence that had led to the charging of those whom they now believed to be the true culprits behind the Christmas Eve massacre. It was an important trial, and had drawn the press to the court in numbers that had not been seen in Salisbury for years. Chief Superintendent Beckton had given clear instructions that Mac was to attend every day until the defendants were convicted. He had then countermanded his own orders when the bone had been found, realizing that D.I. Robbie Best was on leave and that there was no one else of sufficient seniority to handle the discovery. It had to be Mac. Fife slipped and almost lost his footing. "Bloody hell!" "Nearly there," Mac said. The dog walker who had found the bone had called 999, and uniformed officers had been sent to take a look. They had called CID to take a look, and those officers, suspecting that the bone might be human, had summoned the forensic medical examiner. She had shared their conclusion as to the bone's origin, and that had led to Mac and Fife being here now. "Did you speak to the MOD?" he asked her. "I did. They're not exercising today." They followed the track through the field until they could see the site of the discovery. The area had been secured, with uniforms guarding the boundary and a logist taking down the details of those who went beyond the tape. "Down there," Mac said. Their details were noted in the scene log, and they clambered down the sloping side of the depression. The bone was visible at the bottom, half of it in the puddle of water that had gathered there. The pathologist placed the box of equipment down, unlatched the lid and opened it. He put on a pair of nitrile gloves and carefully picked up the bone with both hands. He turned it over, examining it carefully. "What do you think?" Mac asked him. "Human," he said. "How confident are you?" "I'll need to speak to Simon Chester to be 100% sure, but it looks like a femur." "Simon Chester?" "Forensic anthropologist," he said. He turned the bone so that the bulbous head was at the top and pointed to it. "I'm a generalist. I'm not trained to analyse skeletal remains, although, if you pushed me, I could give you my uneducated first impressions." "Please." "It's a bone from the right leg, slightly arched, convex at the front and concave behind. You see the head? Here? It articulates with the acetabulum of the pelvic bone." He turned the bone so that the head was